Welcome to the Accounting Arc Podcast, where analysis, reaction, and comedy collide to tackle the big topics from the world of accounting and beyond. Join our trio of transformation agents as they discuss the hottest topics in and out of the profession, from breaking down industry trends, to reacting to everyday events, to uncovering the hidden humor in numbers. With wisdom, insight, and a dash of levity, they're proving that accounting isn't just about the numbers. It's about life. Because after all, accounting is in everything. The Accounting Arc Podcast starts now.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of the ARC podcast here with Liz, Donnie, and myself. And we're going to get into kind of a fun topic that is a bit of a reaction based on a recent meeting I was in attendance of. So I was attending this meeting talking about technology, innovation, AI, of course, because we really can't talk about technology these days without acknowledging AI's influence and where we are at. And, you know, there were some representatives from large firms, like international firms. Let's call them Final Four firms who were there. And they were talking, you know, really about, you know, all these things that they are doing in their organizations. They have entire teams dedicated to innovating with these technologies, bringing tools to the accountants who are working day to day. And it really, like, I appreciate their perspective and I like hearing what they are doing, but coming from it from a perspective of just I think a break from reality, frankly, because there are so many small to medium-sized organizations that are having incredibly high impact to their clients, to their community, and what they are doing, and they don't have access to these resources, these teams, they're not, you know, doing all of this stuff to build their own infrastructure in order to implement these technologies. Yet they are nimble and capable of, in my humble opinion, doing probably damn near what these firms are accomplishing with tools that are available to them today. But I feel like there's a little bit of pompous coming from the perspective of these large organizations that can make it very overwhelming if you are with a small organization. So it was an interesting topic. And, you know, I think all of us come from a perspective of boots on the ground, like what is happening in reality that we are really grounded in. So it would be a fun conversation to have and maybe discuss what's good out there for the small to medium sized world.
I like your Final Four firms. I, have the perspective not even of a Sweet 16 firm. So, looking at the people that don't make it into those tournaments. Let's back up to what is actually happening on the ground. And I can say from like an innovation perspective, obviously the rate of change is a hockey stick, and we're just constantly consuming new information, new technology, new ideas, new ways and new processes and new everything in how we do what we do. But what hasn't changed is the knowledge, right? And so we are focusing really heavily on how do we pick tools that support and engage and communicate the knowledge that we have as advisors in a more effective, efficient manner, and analyze things that we can then, as humans, look at, right? And work with. And I know that that's kind of a different perspective. Like, we're not looking at it from a what is going to create the most efficiency, what is going to save the most hours, what's the highest ROI, what's the way that big companies look at tool adoption. We're looking at it more from the perspective of what value can this create and how can we use it to amplify the value we already have internally.
Well, I really like that. before I forget to, I'll remind the listeners that we're going to purposely stay away from a bunch of our AI predictions because we already did that in a previous episode. So if you haven't heard our predictions episode that was released in January, go check that one out. That's where we talk about where AI is going. But totally agree with Liz because I feel like there's a couple of things. One is that a lot of times small firms look at the big firms and they go, well, we can't do that, so we're just not gonna do it. But another part of me goes, you don't, but the thing is, you also don't need to do that. Your clients are not as complex, you're not dealing with as much volume, and your differentiator is not the fact that you're crunching these mega things of data and whatever. It's that you're delivering that more personalized service to your clients. It's the human element. And that to me, when you're trying to compete against even mid-sized firms, if you're in a small firm, it's that localization, it's that high client touch, and it's the I'm here, you can call me whenever, and I'm going to give you good advice that makes sense for an organization of your size rather than these mega monolith corporations, which is completely different decision structure and values.
Well, and I think it's like a really interesting moment as well, because obviously technology and innovation and all of whatever terms you want to put onto this segment of tech-enabled advisor, right, creates a situation where you can do more. And so we, as small firms, are actually in a really amazing driver's seat right now because we don't have to deal with all of this giant, heavy infrastructure and requirements and things that have to, meet requirements across departments, across big teams, across, the country, across, even internationally. We can focus on like, what is this individualized tool set that supports the value to this one client, right? And to this individual person, which creates a completely different environment than the past, which was we didn't necessarily have access to the tools that the big firms did to be able to support these clients in the same way, or be able to do it in an efficient or, dollar makes sense way either. And
Right.
so, I think that we're actually seeing like a reversal where big firms are getting a little jealous of small firms for the first time in a long time because of our ability to pivot and focus on things.
Oh, without a doubt. And when we talk about value, we also need to not get lost. In fact, bringing that up, these big firms were really focused on creating efficiencies, right? Like
Mhm.
saving time, saving time, saving time.
Saving
And
money.
yeah, and I'm like, whoa, 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 no, 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 no. Like that is like one leg of the stool, right? Like there is so much ability for us to now increase the value and impact that we can provide to our customers, to our employees because of these tools that has nothing to do with saving time. It really has like it's unlocking next level abilities to do things that we could
Mhm.
not do before. So, and as small organizations, you're absolutely right. I mean, we can make decisions quicker. We have a smaller group of people that we need to roll things out to. Like if you introduce
Mhm.
something, rolling something out to 12 people is way different than 12,000 people. And it gives us the capabilities to move really quickly and create value that isn't about like, saving time.
I'm so glad you brought up that efficiency. That I usually talk about it as efficiency versus effectiveness. And
Mm.
efficiency is a minimization strategy and it's cost reduction and it's just going to get smaller and smaller. And if you're instead trying to really grow your practice or you're trying to engage your clients, it's not about minimizing the amount of time you're spending with them. It's about making sure that that time is effective, like delivering that value, delivering impact. And there needs to be a balancing between efficiency and effectiveness, which as smaller firms, we are better able to do as well. So I think looking at the bigger picture, also when I hear people start to talk about efficiency and cost savings, there's an implication in there that you're going to reduce the labor cost. Well, especially in smaller firms, unless you fire someone, you're not actually realizing that cost savings. So unless you repurpose that, use that to engage with clients more or to take on more work, you're not actually getting a cost savings. And what happens in the big firms is we see these layoffs that are occurring because they're getting these efficiencies. That should not be a strategy in the smaller firms, even with the mid-sized firms.
I actually don't think that should be a strategy for the big firms either. I think that that's a strategy steeped in history, and not steeped in the next level of technology that's coming out. Because the like if you look at the structure of a professional services firm, right, the more people you have, the more money you make. Like if you're looking at it, there's direct correlation there. And the reason being because you have more advisors, you have more people to actually like deliver the work, to work with the clients, to build the relationships, and so on and so forth. But when you start thinking about these strategies of massive layoffs, it's because like, well, you're replacing them with a quote unquote tool. You don't need first year staff anymore. You don't need this. But at the same time, if you don't have that first year staff, you're not going to have that manager in 5 years. You're not going to have that advisor. You're not going to have the value. And so you're cutting off pipeline in a way that's like absolutely horrendous. And we've seen this happen before. You know, we saw when we had that giant recession in 2008, 2009, that big firms didn't hire for a good 3-4 years at all out of school. And then we had this giant talent gap that we're still making up for almost 20 years later because we don't have that level of advisors. And if you talk to any tax firm right now, ask them how many tax
100%.
managers they've been able to hire, right? Like the tax managers are just not there because either they've left the profession or they weren't built up, and the director level is still slim. It is a situation that we have self-created with that mentality of we don't need to hire because, you know, either we don't have enough profits or we have tech that's going to do this for us. But if we don't hire, we don't have the value of the future.
Good call, Liz. I totally didn't think about it that way, but I totally agree with you in the way you've explained it.
Thank you. One of the reasons I love talking to Donnie, and we were talking about this before we started recording, is that I have all these ideas and they're, you know, some of them are good. Some of them are awful. Some of them are off the wall. Like some of them are absolutely insane. But when I do have a good idea, Donnie is like, oh yeah, that's called this. Here's the definition. Here's the academic research behind it. And I'm like, oh, this is so validating. And I learned so much. So thank you for being that person.
Well, like I said before, I love that you have the ideas and you actually test them out and you're doing all the practical stuff and actually making a lot of it happen, which I wish I had more time to do.
The boots on the ground mentality, right?
Exactly.
Like we do. I wish I had time to research and like academically learn more, but I'm always doing too much. So
Well,
Byron, sorry, go ahead.
No, you had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask, you attended this innovation, you know, conversation with all these big firms, and, you know, it is frustrating to hear when strategies are kind of off the wall, but what was like a good takeaway you had? What was something that people are doing that you're like, oh, that's really cool? Or were there any?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't. Now, I'm in a lot of these conversations all the time, so you know, I'm sure that definitely like changes my perspective and my takeaway of these. But you know, to me, like I walked away like feeling the same exact thing that I always feel. And this actually dovetails into exactly what I was about to say. You have to just jump in and do this shit. Like the only way to find out what's possible, because like some of the people were on the call were saying, I don't understand what's possible with these technologies. Like I can't wrap my brain around it. Well, fucking use it. Like get in there and play with it. Like type some things into it and yeah, and 9 out of 10 times it'll give you something you didn't expect, maybe something you didn't want, and every single time you're going to get a little more knowledge about how to work with these systems and these tools and these capabilities. And as long as you're sitting on the sideline and saying like waiting for the right book to teach you how to do this stuff, you're going to be sitting there for a long time. So it really just reinforces to me like go out, sign up for an account and use it. And use it like it doesn't have to. I think our area earlier talking about like one of the people was like, I haven't saved any time in auditing. Everybody keeps promising me I'm going to be able to audit in half the time, and I haven't saved any time. And I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe the goal should be just a better quality audit. How about that? Like maybe you could improve the quality of the audit and not focus so much on, you know, saving time related to the actual output, but you're not going to get there unless you do this stuff. I walk away with something every single day where that I put into ChatGPT or Gemini, and I'm like, man, that was awesome. And I don't know if I saved time doing it, but it did something that was fucking cool. So like I don't know how to preach it enough for people to just log in and play with it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I think it's really interesting that that concept of like time saving efficiency, like this is what we need, keeps resurfacing because this is a
Yeah.
philosophical problem with our industry, and it is a philosophical problem that it's not new. It's been around for a very long time. But it definitely gets exacerbated in moments of tech development when tech is like really accelerating. Accountants come to the table and say, here's how we justify new technology. And it's like, how about we justify new technology in a different way? And we're not only looking at the dollars, we're looking at what else it does and how it improves lives, it improves outcomes, it improves quality, it improves value, right? There are so many ways to look at this that are just not being touched on because capitalism, accounting, we have been trained to like we provide ROI before we even know what the heck we're doing. It's like here's the ROI of this project, and I'm half the time like, how did you even calculate that? Do you even know what this project entails? Like, what are we doing? But
And yeah, to your point, the I was just going to talk about ROI, right? Because every software vendor out there has their ROI calculator, right? And the only lever that they're pulling on their ROI calculator is the cost lever. They're
mm-hmm.
saying you are
Yep.
saving time, we are reducing this one number so your ROI gets better. And they're missing the whole other piece of the formula for
Mm-hmm.
the actual return. It's, I mean, I think part of the challenge is, the vendor space, right? It's all about like buy our software to save money, buy our software to save money, buy our software, get a better ROI on your money.
I think in accounting that we too often forget that we have to put our own mask on first, like in an airplane, right? Put our own mask on first before we help others. And our whole thing is, oh, there's clients, I got to help the clients, I got to do all this stuff. And we're giving so much of ourselves that we're not taking that time to take care of ourselves. It's part of the reason why at the center we created this whole personal resilience program, which is really for you to be that strong rock and foundation for the clients, you need to be solid yourself first. So it really is a matter of taking care of ourselves, and then we can take care of others. In fact, we can take care of more others the stronger that we are as a foundation. And that's also why a lot of what we do is based in teams, because then even if you're faltering, some of the teammates can jump in to cover or to allow you the time to rest so that you can rest, but we're still holding everybody up. So that's why I think working together in a team is so important, as well as taking care of yourself. Well, sometimes I feel like that's a catch 22, or actually, I don't know if that's the right word. Maybe chicken or egg. I don't know. It's recursive. It's a recursive issue
Right.
because the accountants, as Liz was saying, are going, well, tell me how this is going to save me money, how it's going to make me more efficient. So the vendors are like, well, here's the answer. Here's the answer. Uh, People that have heard me talk about tech value to know that I like to look at the whole picture of not just financial, but the human aspects and other aspects of like how does this increase again not just efficiency but effectiveness, because even for myself, I've initially was like, this doesn't really tell me anything different. Like I don't use LLMs to create content for me, but I do use them to help me with ideation and it helps me validate that I've thought through, or I've got all the, or give me the initial options. Okay, yes, these make sense. And now let me pull the rest of it out of my head because I actually know it, and it's faster for me to type it than it is for me to put it out. But, there's ways to work with it, which makes you more effective rather than I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is what it is. Hopefully that's it. And nobody else figures out anything else. I can have a way to work with somebody else that can help me validate with what's already out there.
Yeah. Well, and I'm an external processor. So for me, like I have to express whatever I'm trying to process before I get to the answer. And so conversations are my traditional way of doing that. And so that requires the time of somebody else where I'm like, okay, sit with me and talk through this. So for example, last night I was working on a value-based comp model, which is effectively incentive comp for our team, but I'm trying to do it where they have the control over everything on their team, right? But the math gets a little complicated, let's say, when you start figuring out like, okay, well, what does it cost to actually support a team of different sizes, and how do you calculate like your fixed versus variable costs? And if you're giving somebody their profit margin, let's say, how do you figure out, okay, if they add another person, what does that do to that? How do we insulate so we can actually provide that extra person without it affecting their pay so that they grow and are incentivized appropriately? But there's all these variables that go into that, right? And so I was effectively using an LLM to help me work through the variables, like document the variables, talk through the math behind what would happen to each of them, and come up with an actual algebraic formula to calculate this so that it's like not impossible, and identify every variable that goes into that equation, right? And so like, while I know this stuff, I can do this, I've been working on this for a couple months, like the breakthrough last night happened because I was able to externally process with an LLM that I didn't really require a human for. Like I know the answer, I just needed to get there with every variable and the actual formula and make sure that the math worked, which was huge, like huge value. Did it save me time? I don't know. Like I probably not in terms of like going back and forth, but did it organize it in a way that's better output? Is the quality of what I did better than it would have been? Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I still brag to everybody I can talk to about, I think one of the most powerful things about the LLMs right now is that ability to have conversations with it. Because talking through something, like it's just different. It hits different when you can have that conversation. And I find myself doing it all the time to have those brainstorming sessions for like when you're trying to like lock into something and you can't quite figure out exactly how to get there, and having that conversation and its ability to kind of like, help you get there, where I think it in the right moments, it's better than talking to another human because it has the ability to like get up to speed quicker, frankly.
Well,
Like
it's also a reflection of you, right? It is a tool that has the access to additional knowledge and
right.
Information, but it is built to react to you and respond to what you're putting in. And so it is, in fact, a reflection of what you're entering, which makes it, for me anyways, easier, partially because of that feeling of it's up to speed faster. It's because it's just reflecting what I'm giving it. So it's validating those things. So it's dangerous on the one side because you could validate things that are totally off the wall and wrong and process in a way that's just not productive or good in a multitude of ways. And also it's very valuable for that type of situation where like, the answer, you just have to get to the answer and it helps you get there in a more organized way. And then also I found it's really good at like, if I say, hey, I need you to like poke holes in this idea, like give me the most off the wall idea, right? And I feel like that is really helpful for me because I tend to be like, oh, this is the best idea ever, and then not think about all the other ramifications of what could happen, which is what all those accountants at the table are thinking about before, actually trying it. And that's why they never start.
Which also comes back to Byron's point about the trial and error, right? Because I think a lot of us are used to, or I say a lot of accountants go, here's the question, give me the answer and the correct answer. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, okay, oh wait, you're missing a piece of context. Let me give you more information. Okay, now what do you think the answers are? What are the possible answers with this and this?
Right.
And that's that conversational back and forth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Without a doubt. Yeah, it's awesome. It is awesome. And as small organizations with these tools accessible, you really just have to jump in and begin to experiment. And like it is so fun to experiment with your team and share the things that you are accomplishing. It is
Mhm.
like I really do see. I mean, Donnie, we've been preaching about like change management and software implementation for 2 decades. And it's been the same playbook. And we've talked about having champions and sharing and all this stuff. And nobody has been doing it. And I finally feel like for whatever reason with AI, and it could be my little box in the world that I'm seeing it, but I do see it becoming more of a culture thing than implementing new technologies and softwares of the past.
Like, I think that's because the different path that AI took was consumer adoption before business adoption, versus a lot of the other stuff, it's business adoption and then consumer adoption. So AI and social media are the two that was consumer adoption, then business adoption.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Instant
why
messaging,
we
right?
see that shift. What? Sorry.
Yeah. Instant messaging started that way,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
and I mean, you look at the adoption of Slack or Teams, and I mean, that happened really quickly once it gained momentum. So that's a really interesting point.
Yeah. Again, Donnie with the definitions. Thank you for that. So helpful. I also, I laugh at the change management because, back in I guess it would be in your terminology, Elite Eight. Is that the right one? Did I get the sports
Yeah,
ball reference right?
you
Um,
did.
when I worked for a couple Elite Eight firms, that would like literally they had these entire like formats of this is how you do change management, right? Like here is you
Mhm.
have to list your sponsors, you have to list your champions, you have to go through the calendar of who's doing what training when and who needs to be where when and why we're doing this, what the value is, the abstract, right? They had these like whole templates for how you do change management that I think have remained pretty much the same for 25, 30
Sure.
years. But I agree that is going to have to change because of the way that these techs are evolving so rapidly, and the fact that you can use them to self-train, which is a
Huge.
completely different way to do this. And adoption is much faster.
Completely. And you just reminded me too of another point I was going to bring up because I've been getting requests for, do you have trainings for the use of the various AIs? And I'm like, there's not a specific training for it because it's and they're just like, why is nobody creating this? And I'm like, because it gets outdated too fast. And so it's not worth it for traditional trainers to actually have to do it. And a lot of it is more that collective learning, which, as Byron was pointing out, is done through trial and error and then sharing it amongst your team for, oh, I did this, or here's a prompt I used that was really good, or here's a prompting style. I've seen a lot of the prompt trainings is like, here's the style to use on the prompt and what the things you want to do with it. And it amazes me how many people are still like, no, I want the specific training, like AI
Because
for
that's what they're
Excel.
used to, right? That's what they're used to. And that is just not how the future is going to look, right? And I think even the next level of iteration on these tech platforms is they will create, structure around utilization of the underlying technology to give the value to these companies in the way that they're looking for it. And then it'll be a training on interface, right? It'll be a training on like, okay, press this button to do this, right? Which is what they're used to and what they're looking for because we are not quite there yet with this new level of tech, but we'll get there.
Yeah, it's so true. And I have such a visceral reaction when people like want prompt templates. Like, just give me the template or just give me the prompt. I'm like, no, go make your own prompt. Like, we all have like our unique flavor, our unique thing, our unique way of communication. Like, I am so opposed to like give me the prompt templates because I just there's so many variables. Like to use a prompt to do a specific thing, rarely, if ever, are you going to be able to copy and paste. And if so, then I would argue you should be making a custom GPT or a gem or something like that if it's a reusable thing. But when it comes to providing instructions for a collaboration, it's like give me the template for an interview. Like how can you have
Mhm.
an effective interview of a human being just reading the next question on the list? You
Well, that's
can't.
how most people interview, Byron.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
that's what
what
I was
they
thinking
no.
do.
too.
And then they have rubrics and templates for rating people. Uh,
Ah,
So, yes, you are far above and beyond the majority of our industry in terms of how you interact. And also, I think that that's why there's so much prompt and contextual engineering happening in the background for any useful tool, is that they're building that structure in so that it understands the context of where this person is coming from. Even like so much as to say, I am an accountant. This question is coming from a finance perspective, right? Like these are the things that people don't know.
no,
But
no
as
doubt.
we talk about boots on the ground too, though, the other side beyond tech, because we've been talking a lot about the tech side, I think is really the people side. And this is the differentiator I also feel for small and mid-sized firms, that as these larger firms, and we still see a ton of M&A occurring within the industry,
Mhm.
you're seeing some people like the new bigger firm. There's a bunch of people that are kind of going off or deciding, I don't like this. I don't like the PE influence sometimes, but sometimes it's just I don't like being part of a bigger firm. I would purposely in a smaller firm.
Mhm.
And you see that trickle out effects, whether it's people starting their own firm or they're like, I would rather join a smaller firm. So that's the other side that I think if we focus on the people side, what can make your firm attractive as a working environment compared to these larger firms? Is it more flexibility? Is it remote work? Is it better clients, local clients? Those are all big things, especially for me moving back to Hawaii, reconnecting back with the local clients and that thinking and the community that I grew up in.
Yeah.
I feel a lot more like, man, I really want to help these guys even more rather
Yeah.
than I'm giving advice to this big company that's going to go, okay, great, thanks. Yeah, we'll put it into the budget and justify it with cost savings later.
Oh,
And
without a doubt. I absolutely agree. I mean, I think give me two lanes and one where I can really experience the impact that I'm having versus another where you're just kind of like throwing the balls over the fence and like, sure, I'm clear in my field, but I really don't know what happens next after I throw that ball. There's value in that. And even when it comes down to like a trade-off of compensation and benefits and certain things, I love being closest to the value or the impact that I'm able to have. So yeah, I very much agree with that. And it's different for everybody, but I think most people like to see where they're having positive impact and see that through.
absolutely. That's why I started my own firm, was working with large corporations, giving them all these good ideas and having them be like, all right, whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much.
okay, let me work with some companies where this will actually have a meaningful impact.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt.
But
Well,
there's some fun in the complexity too. So to each
there
their
can
own,
be.
right?
Absolutely. And it's up to the individual. Like what gets you going. But
Well,
that
and
being
that's
said, go ahead. No,
sorry,
real
just
quick.
the
Do
complexity you're
it
bringing
before we
to, because
wrap up.
that's the other one that I always see people go is like, well, AI and all these technologies, because not all of it is AI, is going to come and replace us. And I'm like, if it can do what you're doing, then it should replace you. Because, for example, the basic tax return should be automated. TurboTax already does that. If you're competing with TurboTax, you've got a problem. You're wrong client base. You should be working with clients that have at least a little bit of complexity that need someone like you to actually advise them or help them
Or
understand
want that.
options or think.
Right?
And want it.
But there's a
Yeah.
whole subset of people that want that, right?
Yes.
That's
They
right.
don't
Yeah.
Go
necessarily
find
need
them.
it. The tools can exist for them to do it all themselves, but they don't want to do that because they like interacting with people.
Yeah.
I am one of those people. Even though I
Me
love
too.
technology, I utilize it all the time. Like I said, I'm an external processor. I want to work with somebody on things so that I get
Sure.
that value. And I think that there is a lot of value to that. So,
Yeah.
The client
yeah.
Without a
selection
doubt.
criteria, when you're kind of looking, that's something to add in, especially if you're in a
Hmm.
smaller mid-sized firm.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
No doubt. All right. I've got a meeting coming up, so we do need to land this plane.
Just send your AI to the meeting.
I know, that's right. I want to make like a Zoom call of just me with like 10 note takers.
I think that happened before.
It has. I didn't capture the moment though. But yeah, so anyway, this I honestly turned into a very fun conversation that I hope a lot of people
Always.
yeah, jumped in on, because there's just so much impact we can have, and the tools are available to us no matter what size organization you are with these days. So jump in, explore, and tell us what you figured out so we can learn from you, because that's how I learn best. Well, that and breaking shit.
And let's focus on like what the increase in value or quality we can provide versus just the ROI.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great way to end. We'll see you guys all
All right.
next.
Thanks, guys.
See y'all.
Bye.
The Center for Accounting Transformation provides business professionals with a network for utilizing innovations that are ready for adoption, the training and resources necessary to apply those innovations, and an opportunity to engage the talent and community needed to further the pursuit of innovative accounting practices that drive responsible and mindful business performance. Find out more at our website, www.improvetheworld.net. And if you're interested in sharing your own transformation stories, please contact us there.